their words or behavior, they're attacking their identity, which happens often in religion, they are going to respond emotionally. That's typically the response. But have you ever noticed how lawyers in a courtroom situation, very few lawyers get upset when they're admonished by the judge or they have the opposing attorney call them out for something they've done terribly wrong? They seem to stay very cool, don't they? And I wonder how many of us should be more like that. They don't take anything seriously emotionally in a courtroom.
Well, they're kind of disconnected because they're all laws and stuff, and
Yeah, and they're representing.
Yeah.
They're representing somebody, so they're not speaking for themselves really.
True. So they never feel like it's their own identity under attack.
Yeah, it's just the law.
I've always admired lawyers for that. I was going through my divorce hearings and stuff, and I went to my lawyer's office one time, and my ex-wife's lawyer was coming into her office at the time, and they had to trade some paperwork. And I looked at him eye to eye, and I said, "You're in the wrong office, aren't you?" I had an emotional problem with him just because he was representing my ex-wife. And he looked at me very calmly and coolly and said, "Yeah, I guess I am," and smiled. Like, it didn't bother him at all. And I was like, my heart was pumping. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? I don't know anything about court proceedings at that time.
Yeah, but anyway. Then again, you kind of talking two edges of a sword there, because like if that's a ruler and they've got no empathy for you like that, like a doctor. Oh, Andrew, if you don't go to surgery in 3 days, you're going to lose the sight in your left eye, with no emotion.
Yeah. Then you might not take it seriously.
Well, it's just like, how can you tell me that just like that, and I'm going to walk out of the office and like carry on with my life,
Yeah. Well, I think it does become a numbing thing. That's why when it comes to medical care, I prefer nurse practitioners over doctors, because something happens at the 8-year medical training mark. Something happens in empathy. Maybe it's just experience. Maybe it's 20 years after they've gotten their MD, and they tend to get tired of the emotional response. I asked 2 nurses that were helping to take care of my mom. I said, how do you folks, this was only about 3 weeks ago, I said, how do you keep your empathy? And I'm asking you that because I know you came into this job with empathy and you cared about people, or you wouldn't do it, because it's hard work, and I know that. I said, but how do you keep it? Because they come in day after day after day. You're spending this limited account in your heart of empathy. Don't you just start to say, well, who cares what happens? Is that what we should expect from people that are working in jobs that require empathy every day? Should we expect a hardening and a callousing of their approach?
I think because they're at the lower end of the totem pole, they still care. I think and you're taught, like when I was in the army, my friend that came out with me became a doctor, and he still gives a shit, but it's because of his life before that. If he was indoctrinated with all the teaching and all that shit, he probably would be exactly the same as the rest of them.
What do you think about that, RD? Do you have a limited account of empathy to offer people before you get a little hard?
No, I was just going for a bathroom break, but I think that, for example, the example you mentioned with doctors, you on the one side you got like experience, it's like the positive outcome of somebody being in a job a really long time, but on the other side, they kind of become one with the institution. You know what I mean? Just like where you should really, just like in a city or a small village, you should really have, everybody should be mayor for a day. I think that should work better in that sense, that you just get fresh people in that are not compromised in any way,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, I think that's one good thing about term limits here in the United States. What do you guys think about the Supreme Court U.S. decision today, which will make a pretty big impact on Facebook worldwide, I think, since it's an American company, as far as making physical threats to do harm or kill someone?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
What they've basically said is what used to be okay, all you had to prove in court was that a reasonable person, even a third party, must be able to look at the words written and say, that looks threatening. I could see how another human would say, that makes me fear for my life. But now they're saying that's not enough. You can't just have a reasonable person say that looks threatening. You have to prove that the writer of those words had the intent to threaten. And that's nearly impossible, if you ask me.
You can't do that. No, you can't do that. How do you know what's in someone else's mind, you know?
Exactly.
I'm sure they'll find something for that, Andrew.
I mean, there's got to be some way to do it, because if we don't do that, then these guys saying, I'm going to go shoot up a school, that's legal right now. You can put on Facebook, I'm going to shoot up a school today. And maybe it should be legal. Maybe it's an artistic expression. But what happens when they actually go and shoot up the school and nobody did anything? Now we have a whole new question to ask. Are we being socially responsible at all? I don't know. I don't know how to handle that one. I think the direct death threats have to be handled seriously and taken seriously. And this Supreme Court decision is going to give people the false confidence, trolls, that they can go on and start making death threats now. And they're going to get arrested and prosecuted locally, charged and jailed and fined. And they're going to
can we look at it? Mm-hmm. Can we look at it from the other direction, you know?
Sure.
There's people that are being attacked online and, you know, whatever, and people are saying stuff, and they're committing suicide. And there's people in the third world that are still alive and don't know where their next meal comes from. I mean, Can we check reality, please?
So you're saying everybody needs to toughen the hell up and start understanding what real problems are and not killing themselves because they've been offended.
God damn right. Yeah, totally. Take the God out of that. Damn right. Stop being such weak-ass fucking pieces of shit. I'm sick of it.
Toughen up, world, says Andrew. What do you think about that, RD? How do you guys look at that over there in the Netherlands? Online bullying and such.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the internet is just infantile when it comes to that. I mean, we don't really, we as a society just don't really know how to deal with this thing yet. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's going to change over time. So we're going to have at least a few hundred years of trouble with this thing if it doesn't really move into something new. I mean, you can't really apply. How can you apply normal rules to a different world, which the internet is? It's a different world.
Yeah, it is.
And all these morons are putting all their personal details on there and wondering why people are attacking them, you know. I've never even signed up to Facebook. Oh, my God, how could you not do that? You know, what's wrong with you? I've had that. 20 chicks have told me that. How can you not be on Facebook? I don't like Facebook. I don't want to supply all my details for everything I'm doing to everybody who's online. Fuck that shit. You know?
Yeah, I don't blame you. You know, one of our quickest solutions, at least for the short term, a nice Band-Aid, might be to take Andrew's approach. Why don't we start developing programs that would toughen people the fuck up? Maybe that's what we need to do. I mean, I haven't thought about this before, but what a quick Band-Aid would be, whether it's a solution or not, would be, what if we took children and other people that were online that were being offended and threatened and taught them to get a little harder? Like, just, here's the problem. People like me want to take you literally because we'd like to believe that you mean what you say. But in this new internet world, we can't do that because there are too many people not saying what they mean. And that includes people making threats. But the problem with that is that we can't take anybody seriously, at least on first sight right now. If we want to be tough and hard, we have to say, okay, you're saying you're going to come kill me, but I don't believe it, so I'm not going to worry about it. But on the back end of that, we have a serious global desensitization thing happening now where if we do get tough, Andrew, which we probably should do, we're also going to get more dismissive of what everybody's saying online, and that could hurt us in multiple ways. But I think it might be a good short-term solution to just toughen people up. I mean, what else can we do right now? The law is allowing these threats. The Supreme Court just made it clear. And people are going to keep making the threats. I'd be careful about death threats and credible threats. But if you're just putting rap lyrics on your own Facebook page like this guy was in the Supreme Court case that said, you know, I'll kill the woman and dump the body and I'll go shoot up a school without being specific and credible, then if you're going to make those threats direct and make them credible, then you're going to get arrested and charged, in America anyway. But I don't understand the culture. Like, I don't know what to do next. Toughen people up. How do you can't get people to stop trolling. That's never going to happen. What I'd like to understand is the nature of what makes people want to troll in the first place. I still don't have a grip on that yet.
You need real solutions, and I'll just give you kind of my own parable. I was in Bangkok, and I had a girlfriend there for a couple of years. And there was this little girl begging me, and I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. I don't know what to do. Am I going to give her money, and is she going to be shaken down by the mafia for the money? I don't know what to do. My girlfriend took the money, went to the street vendor. Mafia
We didn't hear that last part, Andrew.
She said she bought the girl food, and she said the mafia can't take anything from her stomach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The most simple solution to, the problem that I don't understand because I don't really live here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we were to take that as a parallel over to Facebook, would the only solution be to cut out the middleman, that being delete your Facebook account and you won't be harassed?
Totally. If something offends you, cut it off.
Yeah.
I don't care how many likes I get. I don't even care. If anybody calls me anything online, I don't give a shit. You don't know me.
Right.
You're not involved in my life. I might like your show. Hello, I'm a listener. It's like radio.
Yeah, you're right. Well, how about Vegas? Are any of you guys, I don't think any of you international guys are planning on going. I sure am not going to be able to afford the cost. I don't even know if I could do it medically, to be honest with you, because the standing, it destroys me after a while. But you got anybody going to Vegas? What do you think about that Vegas trip they're doing? Is that going to be a disaster?
I'm over Vegas for myself. I was going to Vegas as Sin City, like when 2009 to like 2012 and 13 when I broke up with my ex. Yeah, I'm not doing that again. I'm in Thailand or I'm in the Philippines, the real Sin City, for about half the price. Not even half. Look, if they all come together and they all meet, I hope they all get along and nothing bad happens,
Yeah. Well, it might be a perfect lesson in what happens when these personalities that we think we know actually get together in human contact within striking distance. I might have to add that little detail in. How do they behave then? Because I'll bet you.
Well, it really depends. It really depends on how honest they've been. Because if they're not honest and they just clash heads, it'll be like a calamity. It'll be chaos.
That could be very entertaining, especially if they do shows together. Can you imagine?
Yeah, let's put a YouTube fucking webcam on them. We could sell tickets.
Yeah, well, they're talking about using Periscope now. I don't know if you guys know what Periscope is, but it's essentially video broadcasting. I mean, this has been around for a while, but I'm not getting into it. I don't need to be on
poor
camera.
Quality, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Plus the audio. I mean, not just the video, but the audio is going to suck too.
Yeah, so
what's
who cares? I can shoot raw HD on my phone, so that's what Barco's got. That video file of all of us, that's raw HD. It's fucking.
I like to see that video. Why hasn't he shared that? Did he share that on a show?
I don't know. I think he might be scared of Mark. And seeing I'm threatening Mark at the video, he's maybe scared of me too.
Oh, Barco.
I don't give a shit what anyone says about Barco. I like him. I like Apocalypse. I like you too, Stabby. Except for the crazy rap shit you play, which...
I think, than Barco. Barco picks a sore. Stabby, he's the kid that ran up to the hornet's nest and punched it, and then maybe ran or maybe not. That's a different approach.
He seems to be kind of a devil in the details, and the details will drive you insane, man.
Yeah, that's right. Details are what can really make a host look like they're being a hypocrite or being kind completely antithetical to useful truth or reason. And it can also bring out the contradictions.